Hello, everyone. Welcome to another exciting episode on Cosmic Television Network. I'm Emery Smith. I'll be your host today with special guest Brad Olsen. If you like this kind of content, please subscribe and register at emerysmith.co. We do have a new website coming up this week called emerystarlabs.com. So make note of that for the changes. If you like this kind of content, I am the host of Cosmic Disclosure on Gaia TV. We talk about all of these types of things, and a lot of my guests are actually guests that I've had on Cosmic Disclosure, personal friends of mine that I've known for decades. And it's all about disclosure and getting you the correct information to the best of our knowledge today, because it changes daily. The different timelines that are associated with our time here on Earth is changing due to the different types of scrolls that have been written and the different types of timelines that are produced by the manifestation of the galactic community and the Earth community. So we are creating basically our future here, and you can create your own future at home by manifesting that and meditating, which we talk about also on a lot of these episodes. We have so many free episodes on emerysmith.co, which is going to be transferred to emerystarlabs.com. So those are available. We have these live events that are, of course, we charge for to help support the Cosmic Television Network, our YouTube channel. If you like this stuff and you want to be surrounded by more like-minded people, of course, check out our Facebook page, Cosmic Disclosure Alliance. It's a fantastic page with like-minded people that you can share your views, your interests, your experiences, and it's a great place to meet like-minded people. So check that out as well. I do have a disclaimer because I do talk about our solutions that we make. So none of this has been approved by the FDA. None of this is used to treat any medical diseases. Make sure you contact your healthcare provider for all necessary ailments and diseases and cancers. That being said, make sure you go to emerysmith.co for right now. Get your nano blue. There's a brief description of what that is. And I'll probably, at the end of this, give you a little bit more on that stuff. But check it out. It does help with your intuition and decalcifying the pineal gland. And also, it's very healthy. It's just minerals and some rare minerals that we use in there. And it's pretty extravagant. Without getting into all that right now, I want to welcome, let's see who is here. Oh, Kim's here. Welcome, Kim. Kim. Jude is here. Charlene from Mount Shasta. Welcome. Molly from Arizona. Mike, welcome from New Jersey. Michael from Georgia, Atlanta. Welcome. Commander Salamander, who runs everything behind the scenes. Welcome, Commander Salamander. Lisa Ford from Maine. Welcome, welcome. Bob Shiflett, California. Left of California. Hey, Lori from Arizona. Okay. The amazing Michelle DePaul. The amazing Victoria. Welcome, Victoria. Welcome, welcome. It's going to be a really amazing episode. We're getting into some really deep stuff because, as I said, everything is changing. The alignment with the universe and, of course, the happenings with 3i Atlas and, Antarctica and more people coming forward from beyond the veil and beyond Antarctic walls. I'll just give you a hint from new stuff coming up. And I think it's important to, understand that a lot of this stuff that, Werner von Braun and Project Bluebeam was initiated many, many, many years ago is actually coming to fruition, what they've said. And we're going to go over that with special guest Brad Olsen, who's an expert researcher of Antarctica and cosmic disclosure. So it's really great to have him coming forward and being able to share his intel and the intel that we pick up and my intel as well that I throw in there. So with no further ado, welcome, Brad. How you doing there, brother?
Hey, Emery, doing great. Nice to talk with you again.
It's always great to see you.
On the verge of some very weird times ahead. And I, too, am drinking my Nano Blue. Thank you for sending me some so I could try it out. This is the period of time we have to have our wits about ourselves and our intuition as honed as we can make it, because the level of trickery is going to reach the highest levels we have ever seen. So thank you for that. And can have a great talk today.
Just an ounce a day. Don't guzzle it like I do. It's an ounce a day is all you need. Everything else is overkill.
You told me how much. It was a shot glass.
Yeah, shot glass there. Thank you very much for saying that. I'm glad you did receive the care package. I can't wait to hear your experiences 30 days later, and we'll go over that. So we do have, there it is, Emery Star Labs. That's the new website. It's amazing. Cameron put this together. It's really beautiful. It'll be opening this week. So lots of new information, lots of new videos you guys haven't seen. So make sure you subscribe on that one. We'll put a mass mailer out. So right now it's emerysmith.co. Subscribe because we move all those subscribers over. So Brad, oh my gosh, the conversations we have had this past month and since the last webinar are just mind blowing. You know, if you want to start with, you know, I'll leave it up to you. Which one do you want to start with? We can.
Well, we should just start at the beginning. Is always the best when you.
Yeah, because we got to talk to how it's unfolding from what we've already known from Warner von Braun and Project Bluebeam and the history a little bit to educate some of these people who've never seen us talk or you talk about that.
Yeah, you bet. And of course, I research all things esoteric, and in the latest volume of 3, I have a whole section on Bluebeam. So let me get your audience up to speed if they're not already with us on this, because this has been one of the oldest planned PSYOP operations that have been in the books for quite a while. But it's of course still hush hush because I think they're about to put it off on us. You see all the scenarios setting up that this is going to be even the week and the month up until the end of the year of Bluebeam, because it's all dependent on this rotation of 3i Atlas around the sun and how close it gets to Earth.
Right.
So this is a false reality. Everybody has to know that. And it is a last-ditch effort for total global control. It's already known that. And if you think about how they've been able to manipulate time as well using the yellow cube and other modalities, they've known this is coming. That's why so many of us can sense it. And it is that Hail Mary pass. One last try. They're going to try to go for it. So Project Bluebeam is one of the most dangerous secret programs ever conceived. It has the potential to spark a global financial panic, an outbreak of war, or even mass suicide. It will trigger most people's emotions because organized religions rule our world. We live in a very superstitious planet right now. And it's not just Americans, but I've been around the world, Emery, all 7 continents. And where there
I
are
agree,
people,
100%.
There are fully indoctrinated people around the world, much, much more so than the Christians of the world. I mean, think about the Muslims, think about the Hindu faith, Buddhist in the East. All of them may have this Messiah in the sky incident. That's also part of Bluebeam. So as it goes, it will trigger most people's emotions because organized religions rule the world and because humans need to believe in a higher power. It's kind of always how it's been. It's always how the organized religions keep people trapped in the matrix. This kind of power is exactly what Bluebeam seeks to acquire through the most mischievous of methods, making use of deception and mass manipulation techniques. Bluebeam would lay the foundation for a new one world government supported by a unified new age religion. At least this is part of the plan.
Yeah.
So those who first brought up the existence of the secret space program, Cosmic Disclosure, a lot of guests you've had on, people that we've known mutually that have been involved in these programs, have been given the first description of their targets. Captain Kramer has talked about Bluebeam quite a bit, all of which will be faked. He even admitted it. There may be collateral damage. They might roll out some of their high-tech equipment, but the whole scenario of doing this is going to be a PSYOPs.
Yes.
So Bluebeam is expected to go through several steps before completion. And remember, this is intel from the last couple decades. The first step, that is, and I think this has already happened, involves the creation of artificial earthquakes in very targeted places around the world. It's known that the electromagnetic frequency of the HARP array can trigger artificial earthquakes. Think about that big earthquake in Turkey just 2 years ago. Remember when Turkey was saying they might pull out of NATO and they might side with the other countries with the letter I in them away from who we support. So, but then these earthquakes will unearth previously undisclosed archaeological sites of great importance, likely showing bones of very large giants or ET craft remains. And that, as you and I both know, is happening in Antarctica right now.
Yes.
As every season with the melting ice in certain regions, some of the Nina and Santa Maria large ships are becoming exposed. The new discoveries will serve to discredit the belief of existing religions that we are not alone and have never been alone. By controlling the mockingbird media, which we know they have, the cabal will trick the world's nations into believing they have misunderstood and misinterpreted their religious doctrines all along. It's very likely that there are a large number of archaeological sites hiding, or even numbers of arcane mysteries. One of these locations, Antarctica. And what if an earthquake reveals these mysteries? This would sufficiently shake the world for phase 2. And before I read phase 2, I want you guys to know that in my capacity as a book publisher, I work with Leo Lyon-Zagami, and he did his first of 5 books with CCC Publishing about the last pope and about this new world religion, one world religion that they want to roll out. And they already have. This has also been going on for quite a while. So they built a new church in Vatican City that will be devoted to this new one world religion. Right now they call it Chrislam. They're trying to merge Christianity and Islam. I was like, yeah, who's going to go for that? And they're building out this huge city in Kazakhstan in a city called Astana, which CNN is called the weirdest city in the world. It's like all these new age monuments everywhere of all the world's religions all over the place. Look up Astana. It'll blow you away. So they're already laying the groundwork for this whole one world grid. And what have you seen, Emery, in this regard?
Yeah, I definitely know all about what you're talking about, and the same intel is coming in. And it's interesting, they're trying to also make those cities like the premier self-sustainable, anyone can come, we accept everybody. And that's the hook, is like people are looking for a new religion, a new political settlement, because they're so upset with what's been going on, and people are becoming more awake, Christians and Catholics and Islamists, and it's not working out for them. They're not feeling as part of the family, and their lineage, genetically speaking, because we have extraterrestrial DNA to certain percentages, also has a factor of who is getting more awake, we'll say, at that time. And it's getting energy that's shed down on Earth from the universe and from other places, that people are just kind of waking up. And the hook is all these amazing, hey, come here, we're non-discriminatory. And it's really sad, because there is a hidden agenda with any new cult or political religion based cult, because I remember talking with Gary Larson many years ago with cults, and how this is a perfect example of the utopia that has been promised in scriptures as well, which you well know. So this is a perfect sign that it's going into new world order, which has been talked about as long as we've been alive, and the one world order, the one world coin, and it's interesting how they use not just the biblical text, but the Bhagavad Gita and the Quran, and they mix it all together to make it look like, oh no, everyone is correct, but this is how it really is supposed to be. I don't know how people are going to, like you just said, Christian law. I mean, I don't see how this is a war that's been going on for our entire, life of human beings. so it's going to be an interesting thing. And I know we're going to get into, you're going to get into the history of why, like, what's his name? Avi Loeb and Warner von Braun and the Project Bluebeam predicted, this was going to happen. And they used people like Avi Loeb to, since he is a Israeli American physicist, theoretical physicist, I think. And that when you get someone on your team, meaning the bad side, they want to bring people in like that are credible, saying, hey, the 3i Atlas and this, that, you really start paying attention. I like to have credible people on my show. That doesn't always happen. But, the thing is, use your own discernment, which I know you're going to get into.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And we'll get all into Avi Loeb and Harvard and how that is also setting up the narrative. But this is how you can tell that the Vatican are the globalists. Here's a coin from the Vatican City with a chemtrail tanker flying over above. So it's their little way of predictive programming. It's from Beyond Esoteric, where I'm also describing the several steps of Project Bluebeam. And then we'll come into the latest with 3i Atlas first being sighted last summer as it was passing by Jupiter. And that's when Avi Loeb's narrative started. So the next step is the big fake space show involving sounds and extremely realistic holograms in the sky. And if this is from Wikipedia, it's probably just poo-pooing it all and saying we're all just conspiracy theorists for even talking about it. Oh, military record in the National Archives. Okay. The other one are these holograms. And you guys have seen stadiums where they'll do these hologram shows. I saw one recently that was like a supernova exploding into all these stars in the night sky around the stadium. And then a UFO appears around it too. And it's so realistic you wouldn't even know otherwise. Or in a gymnasium, they'll have a humpback whale jump up in the floor of the gymnasium and splash. And it looks like it's right there in front of you. So don't think that they don't have some mind-blowing technology when it comes to holograms to stage this space show. And we're also talking about central casting. I mean, they're going to pull out all the stops on this one.
Yeah, just to cut in for a second, the holographic imaging when I was in the military in 1993 was so mind-blowing. I was brought in, one of my friends was just showing me one of the hangars, and he's like, hey, I got this new car, I want you to check it out. And these were in the days where you could pull up to the hangars and park outside. And I came in the hangar, and he had this amazing looking futuristic car, like a Lamborghini, but on steroids. And I was just walking up to it, and I was looking, I said, did you build this? I was like, what? I'm just walking around it. And the most amazing thing, he's like, well, go ahead, open the door. And I reached for it, and my hand, it felt like I was touching memory foam for a half a second. It was palpable. So they're able to concentrate the atoms with, with the projection of the photons to have a little bit of texture to it. My hand went right through it, and that was like 1993. So today, they can easily make a fleet or anything, or even on the ground, to make it look like there's something there. Just like in ancient war, not even ancient war, recent war in the last 100 years, we would pull in a bunch of fake tanks and line up, these giant platoons, and it was all just cardboard boxes. And the enemy, you would really think, when they're flying over with balloons, that wow, this is no different than that by the staging event. And it's really important to understand these staging events that they're capable of, for you to be, because everyone's in the 3D and you're thinking, can I kick the tires on the spaceship? And there's a great example.
That's all holograms.
Yeah. And they can, it's so, they can actually cast a little bit of a shadow. And of course, the practical joke was on me, and everyone was standing behind some curtains and we're laughing. And so it was a really cool, technology back then. And today it's beyond anything I could even imagine, you would see things like this. You might even see what you think would be an extraterrestrial, or millions of extraterrestrials invading, let's say,
Right.
or videos of our satellite spacecraft filming let's say, a 3-dimensional virtual craft in space. So other observatories and NASA, the first NASA, not the second one, that it would look like, and they'll be reporting this. They could be reporting this. This is one timeline that can definitely happen.
And I think you'd agree, Emery, that they're even keeping the best technology, hologram technology, secret still, because it's going to be so realistic. The stuff we just saw there is going to pale in comparison, because this is what it's all about. And they're keeping it from the public. They're going to spring it on us. And so when these Project Bluebeam artisans create a worldwide celestial show that mimics a global second coming of Christ, which I think will happen when we swing around in December, that the alien invasion part will be first. We'll knock out the power, which could be also the White Hats making their big move too with the arrests. We'll see when we come out the other side, and possibly another financial system. So everything is at stake here, and the globalists absolutely have the motive to pull this off, because their ass is against the wall right now, and they'll all go down for sure. And I hope the thing just glitches out. It's trying to fake out the whole world, and that we just see that it's, for what it is, just a big fakery. So see if you can find some of the hologram images of Christ and some of the other religious figures, because they've been doing beta runs and playing these in the sky for people and getting reactions. Mm-hmm. And as you saw in the whale video, I just noticed when it was playing a second ago, that it was so realistic, the kids were flinching like they were going to get splashed with the big wave. So it's that realistic when you're up close on these things too. But like you said, Emery, you can just poke your hand right through it because it's just a light image. So then, so these different holograms will be played in various zones according to a zone's predominant religious beliefs. Prophetic in nature, these visions will serve to further destabilize the situation until it escalates into a deadly global war. So they are definitely trying to provoke World War III with this too. Mm-hmm. Investigative journalist Serge Monst described Bluebeam's intentions to elicit maximum shock reactions. Yeah. Quote, naturally, this superbly staged falsification will result in dissolved social and religious disorder on a grand scale, each nation blaming the other for the deception, setting loose millions of programmed religious fanatics throughout demonic possession on a scale never witnessed before, end quote. So add this to the worldwide political anarchy, people being extremely agitated and confused, and a general panic caused by global catastrophes, and the road to destruction becomes obvious, because the globalists absolutely need to provoke World War III at the moment, and they know how superstitious we are. So if this thing appears in the sky and starts giving you voice to skull transmissions like go to your nearest FEMA camp, or have faith in the one world digital currency, and go get your digital wallet, they can program that stuff right into our skull. That's how advanced the technology is. But I think what all of this is leading up to is the big confrontation with finally getting rid of this centuries, millennia old control structure, this Babylonian fiat currency magic that goes way, way back. And this is how they have tricked us and controlled us and enslaved the human race for a while. Mm-hmm. Knowing that the White Hats are moving in, they got to do the big sky show while they can. And it's been prophesized for quite a long time, all the way back to Werner von Braun and a CIA spook who did that haunting video where he would describe all the hits that he went on. And in the end, he says, I'm out here in this park and I see these kids and they just don't know what's coming, and I want to tell them. And he predicted that Project Bluebeam would happen in 2025, and here we are.
Yeah, it's amazing. To add to the programming through religion and other, governments' agenda, the satellites are up there. Psionically, they can make you think, believe anything to a group of individuals, a single person. You also have a lot of draconians out there that also want this shifted to a direction while they're doing their stuff. They're great at psionics. So there is mass groups of negativity for that part. And I really believe that, the extraterrestrials that are out there are really not going to let this, if it were to happen, I don't think they're going to let it go very long. If it does happen, I do believe in the glitching, like you said. This is definitely a very mass, COVID was a mass program to see how many people they can control to stay in their homes. Dropping electromagnetic pulses on a city or multiple cities is a great way to demonstrate how to shut down a whole city and to comply with FEMA, to comply with the government's request for you to stay home, to go somewhere and conjure, and you'll be fed and given proper protection. So the fear-based part of that is always here. And they do have amazing technologies beyond the stuff we can even think of. How long that will run, if it will run, if the timeline changes before now and then is up in the air. But this is what's really happening right now.
Happening right here, right now, all in real time. And as we were just saying it before we went live, this story is morphing and changing by the day. and I just saw how they're going to blame the EMP attack. Well,
yes.
It could be an exchange with other countries because they want to provoke war. And what if all these geopolitical events all pop off at the same time? So you got Ukraine and Russia coming to a head. You got Iran and Israel wanting to trade barbs again. You could have China taking Taiwan. You could have the U.S. Invading Venezuela. That's a new one. All the while, this happens, and it comes over the news wire. It already is, saying that the sun is getting really active. It's spitting out a lot of solar flares. And I have seen some images that look like it is real. But what this is saying is that, it's 3i Atlas doing it. That the 3i Atlas is hitting the sun so that it'll spit out these solar flares and it'll hit Earth. And then they can blame it on the sun and 3i Atlas. And now we're being set up for the alien invasion.
Yeah, I mean, to say that a craft, has the ability to have so much mass to affect the sun is a great way to, people don't really understand the science of that. Not many people do. Astrophysicists and physicists do. It's quite a bold statement. The fact that they're saying, oh, well, now it's going to pass by all the planets, but we won't be able to see it because of the sun. That's another trickery move. You can't really verify. Amateur astrophysicists cannot verify. And then we have to look at the boob tube and media to see what's really going on. And that's a sad thing, because anything coming on your TV is going to be disinformation.
And also think how Halloween is just a couple days away. And Avi Loeb has come on and said, you better take your vacation before October 29th because everything's going to change. So let's talk about Avi Loeb.
Okay, let's get into this. We're going to tear this up. All right.
He's a kindly little Jewish guy. We met at the Conscious Awards last summer. It's like, hello, nice to meet you. But there's a saying, the fastest way to Washington, D.C. is take a left turn at Harvard. Because if you get a Harvard scientist behind it, you better believe this is the real science here. And we all know there's a certain people that have a propensity for trickery and tomfoolery and fleecing the Goya, as they might say. But
and Stanford.
right, exactly. And Silicon Valley, pretty close to where we're at, and where I lived for many, many years. And I saw the trickery of big tech, to be sure. But they get these big guys involved, and they own the mainstream media, they own big tech, so it's coming over the all the socials now, and it's changing by the daily basis. But it's Avi Loeb who, from the beginning, this is last July, when 3i Atlas first was spotted coming by Jupiter, and he made the mention that, oh, this doesn't look good for humanity. Oh, I think we're in big trouble. This could be an alien invasion. And that's what tipped me off. Okay, here it is, setting up the narrative for Bluebeam. And this is also what Jeremy Corbell says. When you get the big mothership coming in, that's a telltale sign we are right on track for Project Bluebeam. And Emery, I can't even be sure now that the early images we're seeing of 3i Atlas, which looks like a big, long, wide, flat pancake mothership all lit up in lights. James Gillen posted that. It's been going around this last week that this is some kind of big mothership. Maybe this is a holographic projection, or it is just some kind of harmless meteorite, and they're projecting holograms on it to make it look like a mothership. And they've known it's on this trajectory since the 1970s, because that was when the wow signal came through. It was the day before Elvis Presley died. So that's how I remember that date. And he was so super into aliens, right, that he got Nixon to take him down to Wright Pat and saw some test tube aliens and stuff. But the wow signal comes in, and it was Avi Loeb, first guy to say, oh, I did the backtrack trajectory of where 3i Atlas came from, and it's way out in the Sagittarius constellation, and that's exactly where the wow signal came from. So they've been alerting us since the 1970s that they're coming here. And of course, there's all these stories that we're getting these messages that are coming out, although they don't really tell you what's being said, or it's kind of gobbledygook. You can't make sense of it. And then, of course, NASA is not showing us all their images because they had some cameras from Mars that could have taken very high resolution pictures.
Yes.
But we're on the government shutdown, so they can't do that because it's all shut down right now.
Yeah, so, how convenient. You know, the science behind it with Avi Loeb and others that are out there looking at this. You know, plasma fields, you know, definitely craft that I was exposed to work on plasma fields, and they all emit light. So the light, though, can transform into a three-dimensional, you know, hard thing. The big question is, they're saying already, which I get this a lot online from just people that are really following this, trying to say, hey, well, how the heck can they say there's metals on this thing that are not, you know, from Earth? And just a real quick science fact, you know, the James Webb Telescope uses a special program that measures a picture and the photons that come off of it. And these photons are different because they base it off the hydrogen molecule, and they base all the periodic elements off of that. So everything has its own frequency. So they label these frequencies. They can shoot a picture, run it through a system, and that system will say, hey, you know, you have manganese, you have cobalt, you have uranium, and so forth. So that's how they're actually doing that. That is a real technology, you know, as part of some really amazing things in the early 90s with Los Alamos and Sandia that shows, you know, how this all came about. They have satellites out there that measure this. You know, we took that, you know, I took this technology and I turned it into a system for scanning the body. So I can get your picture, scan it, and instead of measuring, and I can measure all the elements, but we're measuring bacteria, viruses, parasites, cancers, all the cells. And just with that picture, I can tell what's been going on. We scan it all the way down to the DNA. If you're interested in that, check out emerysmith.co, read the description on the NLS Emery star scan. And if you're interested in that, finding out what's going on in your own body, we can provide that for you. It's an amazing, very detailed 3,000 page report. It takes 8 hours to scan one picture and about 2 weeks to read the report, and we call you back and we go over it. But that technology has been around for a long time. So it is true that they're scanning this. And of course, they're going to say, hey, there is different types of metals and things that we just don't know what it is. And that happens here a lot on planet Earth, because we have archaeological expeditions that I'm called in on, that we do these deep underground penetrating radars that do the same thing and tell us what's underground. And like on Blind Frog Ranch on Discovery Channel, as a material analyst, I would go and like take organic samples and non-organic samples without giving away the future of Blind Frog Ranch on Discovery Channel, and like measure those and see what's really going on. So that's a little bit of the science of how they're trying to make science as a also not just disclosure, but disinformation. So if you put a lot of stuff out there, like you said, here's a picture of it solid, here's some lights, oh, that kind of makes sense. So people are like, well, now it's more intriguing, because now they're trying to address the scientific community, because the scientific community doesn't believe in that bullshit. They're like, they need hard evidence. They have to go through their protocols to test these things off of a picture, which not many people have that technology.
Yeah, fascinating. That's such a great body of information you bring, Emery, to bring that scientific level into this discussion, because it does go really deep with the technology. And it reminds me of what Randy Kramer said about Blue Beam, that the military, our military, at least the Black Hats or the Secret Space Program, wants to go along with it, even if there is some collateral damage. And I said, Randy, how could there be a justification if people might die? And how would they bring in the aliens? How would that look? And he said that they feel like their back is up against the wall by holding on to this technology and developing it, so that we're basically in our Star Trek future, but humans don't even know about it because they've withheld it in all these black programs. And so Randy Kramer, and he's even saying he's one of the official spokesperson for Pro Blue Beam, so they can roll out their high tech. And then in the end of the day, our fighters go in there like the movie Independence Day and beat those big bad aliens. But so then I asked him, well, what kind of aliens are we talking about here? And he said it'll be the insectoids. I said, well, why them? Yeah. And he said, because for one, they're kind of expendable. They're of this hive mind where if they have a body death, they know they're quickly coming right back into another insectoid body. And they want to help. This is their way of helping, apparently. So if a ship comes down and there's insectoids, I mean, this is War of the Worlds, H.G. Wells all over again. I mean, that too was a dry run back in the day.
It was. Yeah. No, I agree. And I think, that this is all part of the, putting together the pieces, because there's so many multiple people out there with disinformation and people that kind of already know what's going to happen, that it's hard for anyone online with the amount of disinformation to have discernment, even when, anyone listening to anyone, especially the channelers that are out there giving these readings, and it's funny because those channelers will come back on a week later and change their whole story.
Yeah.
Because it's changing, like you said, every day. It's hard to pinpoint it.
Well, I have some remote viewers that I really trust. And in blind studies, at least 3 of them have come back to me and saying that they saw insectoids in 3i Atlas. But they said, you don't have to worry about us. We're not the bad guys. Just think about love. Think about all these higher, lofty things. So that too could be a psyop. So I don't know. They're faking.
Well, the psyops, Sebastian Martin's actually watching on here. He's a great remote viewer. We have lots of discussions about 3i, and we'll probably bring him on at the end here so we can talk a little bit. But
yeah,
one of the things he teaches and that I teach is that you have to have a discernment with remote viewing, because you can be a particle of psyops and not know it. You can have a remote view anything, person, place, or a thing, and you have to be careful, because a lot of places and a lot of projects and a lot of when you have someone out there, an agency that's wanting you to think a certain thing, they have remote viewers there projecting a false reality. So it's kind of like the 3D holographic, but on the astral plane. And you have to manipulate and really navigate through these things, or you could become one of the next remote viewers that is actually telling what you see and what you saw and what you felt, but it's not true. And that's why it's really proper to get training. And I can't talk highly enough about doing one of Sebastian Martin's training, but we'll get into that. But I agree with you. I think it's great. The remote viewers, the channelers, this is all just information that is put together. And, every time I go on an expedition, I have 3 remote viewers because we have one remote viewer. Even if you're a 90% effective remote viewer, if you have 2 remote viewers that are not in the same room and they both get the hit, you have 3, you're 110% accuracy. And we do these trainings all the time here with my team. And it's really fun to do. And I think this is what needs to be done, is multiple, listening to all the remote viewers and listening to the science and listening to some of the things online, and have your own discernment. And that's kind of what we teach you.
Brilliant. That's great. But I like what you said, that even remote viewers can be tricked. And so wouldn't you think that these artisans of Project Bluebeam would think that, yeah, okay, we got to put a projection out there who these aliens are, and give these people with psi abilities an insight into who's going to be doing this. Ooh, big, bad, ugly, conquering insectoids are coming to take over Earth. Just like in War of the Worlds, they were kind of insectoids that were coming out of the UFO. And that was a dry run to see how the people would react to an alien invasion. And this was looked at by the Brookings Institute on Long Island. And where the War of the Worlds was taking place was just over the Hudson River in New Jersey, right? And Orson Welles was in a radio studio in New York City. And they came to the conclusion, these are the big brains in these think tanks, that you can't handle the truth, Emery. You cannot handle the idea that there are aliens and they're all over the place and they're here. I mean, this is what drove Forrestal crazy. He was walking the halls of the Pentagon saying, there are UFOs in Antarctica. They're coming out of the ice. When they probably knew then, and they know now, that those were probably the Antarctica Germans who were flying those craft. But the point is, they know that there's a hysteria that can be conjured up with the idea of the possibility of humans race being attacked by aliens. And just think about all the poor people around the world who would never have access to conversations or information like this, that will be totally hoodwinked when this whole thing happens. And they will believe it because it's going to be very realistic, as we saw in those holograms.
Yeah, but I mean, Hollywood's been prepping us for 30 years now on evil alien invasions. That's a psyop.
Yeah. 9 out of 10 Hollywood movies that come out that have anything to do with aliens portray them in a poor light and hostile to humans. 9 out of 10. It's only the E.T. extraterrestrial, the little lovey toy.
Yeah.
E.T. Yeah. Spielberg's part of it too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he is. That's a whole other episode. Yeah.
There is a third step here. This is the final conclusion of Bluebeam. And NASA will be involved in it too. We already know that they're not releasing photos, but when they do, they're going to come in a fury, and who knows if they're real or not. That's the whole thing with this. Until we can look at it on a telescope in our backyards, and maybe that's what happens when the power goes out, we all just kind of hang out, then that would force disclosure. So I think one way or another here, disclosure is imminent. It is happening because they're prepping the narrative right now. But the bigger picture of all this is that they're going to use this telepathic electronic two-way communication, basically voice to skull technology, making everyone feel schizophrenic, hearing voices in their minds of the returning religious figures, or maybe even when these scenarios are taking place with the holographic ships in the sky. Randy Kramer seemed to think that we will roll out our technology, and there will be some back and forth shooting. You're going to need some realism, like a crash here and there, so everybody come running out with their cameras and film it. I mean, this is what we might be experiencing here in the next couple of weeks. I shouldn't laugh, but it's just, to me, it's
I get it. Yeah,
it's silly because we've seen this coming for so long. So I met Lieutenant Colonel John Alexander, and I don't know, love him or hate him, he's the Penguin in the new. And I think he's done some weird stuff, and I think he's also part of trying to muddy the waters with disclosure. But I met him at a conference once. He was a nice enough guy, and I took a picture with him and posted on Facebook. Then Leo Zagami, the Italian, he comes back, "Hey Brad, I don't think I so like your choice of friends there." I said,
yeah,
well,
I did
Leo,
the same thing. Yeah, I mean, he lives here in Las Vegas, and yeah, I know him, and yeah, all I'm gonna say is, yeah, I mean, he was behind the whole thing. You know, he wrote the book on how to kill people for the military, and
yeah,
he's definitely. We can go on stories all day long. He won't go on the show. He won't do that yet. He does his own conferences and things, and like he does, shows up every now and then, especially in Las Vegas because he's here.
yeah.
And you know, I don't want to be, just because I took a picture with someone, you know, it's easily like, oh my gosh, you're associating yourself with
Right.
Dr. Death, and it's not like that. You know, he, believe it or not, a lot of the projects that I was on, he was the one who was running those.
Wow.
I never got to see him. But his signature was on all the papers. So it was interesting to know later on, 20 years later, you know, the real details of who he is and what he's accomplished, and how he was at one of the highest clearances. And you know, he messed up one time because he was at an event in New York number of years ago, and within, I think, an hour and a half, he walked on stage in Vegas or something, and everyone's like, "Oh, you know, they put two and two together." This is way before, you know, we had a lot of just live streaming, and but people always question that, and you know, I know how he did it, and he, you know, he did have access to that stuff, but he's pretty buttoned mouth about everything. You know, he enjoys doing his conferences and talking about stuff. You know, I don't have any feeling to meet with him. I don't need to. I know too much, and I'm sure you agree.
Well, what I told Leo about the picture, and this would go with
Poor Leo.
I said, you know, the Machiavellian quote, "Keep your friends close, but your enemies closer." And it's good to just stay on people's good side sometimes, because I think I also saw him shapeshift too, Emery, when he came into the conference. And he came over to speak to John D'Souza, the Real Life X-Files, who I like. I think he's a great guy. And he too is also warning about Blue Beam right now. A lot of people in this business that have known this and seen it coming see all the telltale signs that it's building up to this. So I didn't recognize John Alexander when he walked right by me. But then later in the conference, all the way across the room, I'm like, holy shit, that's him. And then I went up and talked to him afterwards a little bit, because I quote him in my book. And here's his quote. And this is from The New Mental Battlefield, Beam Me Up, Spock. And yeah, he does all these weird stuff like half alien, half human, but he'll poo-poo people like you and I who are doing some hardcore research on it. So he says this. He goes about the voice to skull technology. He said, "It is possible to feed artificial thought into the multi-genetic field via satellite, the mind control of the entire planet is now possible. And individuals' only resistance would be to constantly question the motivation behind their thoughts and not act upon thoughts which they consider to be outside their own ideological, religious, and moral boundaries. That's a John Alexander quote. So he does reveal some of the technology, because in this free will planet we live on, there has to be the revelation of the method, that they do have to tell us what they're doing. Just like, well, I think Werner von Braun, he had a change of heart when he told his assistant, Carol Rosen, also way back in the 1970s, that the last card the globalists are going to play will be this rolling out the new world order. And he kept saying, don't believe it. And he's even said they're going to use holograms, they're going to use high technology to trick the people into believing it, into going for it. And he even laid out the scenarios that it would be an enemy that you cannot define, like the war on terror. Who is it? Who's our enemy? And then it would be like a rogue meteorite, which here comes Three Eye Atlas. And then it would be this fake alien invasion. He kept saying to Carol Rosen, don't believe it. It's going to be fake. And you have to pass my message. And I saw her speak at a conference 25 years ago, and she said that story has never veered away from that.
Yeah, I agree. I lost my train of thought. I was going to tell you that Ronald Reagan said, how interesting would it be if we had a visit from an alien life force that was attacking us, that we all would forget our differences and come together. You remember this?
Yeah, absolutely.
So this was, during the Ronald Reagan years, they were prepping him because he got to see a lot of the presidential black books, which they don't do anymore from president to president because of the CIA Secret Service, and even the president is not debriefed on these things. And that's what's really bad, very, very bad. And it's going on right now. And I know Trump is trying to break through all that.
Yeah. And boy, if it wasn't for him, I think we'd be in a world of hurt right now. We'd not only be in World War III, but there'd probably be some rogue nukes that have gone out. They say that.
Putting even him creating the Space Force is a symbol, number one, because we already have a Space Force, but to say it out loud and to say, people are now saying, oh, they activated the planetary defense systems. They're never shut down, by the way. So for this rumor to come out and give another fear factor to the mainstream public is also another disinformation, fear-mongering statement.
Yeah. And they need war right now so bad. Look at how the forces that be have been provoking the Ukraine, Iran, Israel. I mean, they need this third world war. So there we go. There's the Reagan quote. Let's hear it. I sometimes think.
This is
hilarious. Yeah, this is like 86 or something.
87, it says.
87, okay.
I can't hear it, Cameron.
Can't hear it. You say, wouldn't we come together as a planet?
Here, I'll lip sync it.
Yeah.
But
Ronnie voice.
But what I'm saying is, here in 87, this man knew something.
Yeah.
And this is before presidents stopped talking. Once he said this, pretty much the astronauts and him stopped talking, except for Buzz Aldrin and a couple others. Because they were like, we're losing control of the agenda, and that wasn't supposed to be said. But he felt it in his heart to like, hey, I got to let everyone know because I'm leaving. And he knows he's going to be leaving. And we're going to be watching this, 30 years later saying, whoa, here's some warning signs. You have, like you said, Werner von Braun was amazing step by step. I mean, it was incredible what Carol Rosen has given, to the people. And that was, to this day, we're using this. So,
and I like Ronald Reagan. That was actually the very first presidential election I ever voted in. And after he got shot, he was never quite the same. And of course, Papa Bush was running the presidency from behind the scenes, and then he gets the next term. And then, of course, he was CIA, and he openly spoke about, we're going to bring in this new world order, not the law of the jungle, but a new world order.
yeah.
It's like, this guy is a psychopath. And that is exactly what the motive is for all of Project Bluebeam. Sure, if they could depopulate, they want that. If they could get us to go to war and make things even worse, go for it. But mainly it is whoever's going to survive is going to become prisoners in this digital construct. And they want to phase out cash in order to usher in the final global implementation of the New World Order independence. So this is what it's all about. The techniques used in the final step are exactly the same as those used in the past by the Soviet Union to force people to accept communism. The same technique will be used by the United Nations to implement the New World Order and to persuade the Vatican to endorse a one world religion. So just watch all the rollouts here. The final step, focused on a radical currency change, is what Nicholas Rockefeller admitted to filmmaker Aaron Russo. The elite's goal is a 100% microchipped and enslaved world population beholden to their fiat currency. Project Bluebeam could begin with some kind of worldwide economic disaster, not a complete crash, but enough to allow the cabal to introduce some kind of in-between currency before they introduce their one world currency of electronic cash to replace all paper and plastic. So then just finally, this in-between currency will be used to force anyone with savings to convert it or turn their cash into physical gold, to turn it in. This is because the cabal understands that people who have money are not dependent upon them, and moneyed citizens will be the ones who will mount an insurrection against the cabal's diabolical plans. So this has all been charted out. It's been known for decades, and we've seen the narrative being prepped for it right now in real time in so many different ways. So this is it, you guys. We are coming into the big play. It's all for broke for the cabal, and it's saving this planet and moving into our Star Trek future on the other hand. I mean, the stakes could not be higher, and it's all going to depend on if we go along with this. You know, I think we have to be non-compliant, even believing in this whole fake alien invasion thing. So I'm seeing all this stuff that's coming down the pike here, Emery, and I'm thinking, here it goes. You can. Why are they talking about UFOs on the mainstream media now when we've had hard evidence for decades? But all of a sudden now, let's talk about 3i Atlas. This is it. And so this is why they're going to do it. They need to, this big shock event, to roll out this digital prison they're going to put us in. And this is the only time in human history they've had this technology to do it. Hitler would have been drooling this, or any tyrant. Mao Zedong would have done it. And they've done their dry runs enough. Just
right, they did their dry runs.
They've done their dry runs. They're launching some of these. They're. I was just going to say they're launching
is more than one small country.
Here we go.
It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind: peace and security, freedom, and the rule of law.
So I say we must clean the house of white America of racism. Americans who are in the white majority should be proud to stand up and be heard denouncing the sort of racist rhetoric we heard on that tape, so loudly and clearly denouncing it that our black fellow citizens can hear us. White racism may be, but it's white people's problem. We must clean our house.
Yeah, I think, even that last part is about bringing every person, like this place they're building in Kazakhstan. Everyone is accepted, forget about race, gender, everything. You're accepted here. We offer a new paradigm religion that accepts you for who you are. And this has been going on for trickery, ever since the Roman wars, where they were, especially when Catholicism ruled and was invading. That's why, the Celtic, pagan, Irish, Scottish people were fighting so hard not to be changed with, what their belief system was. So the belief system change has been going on for a millennia, as far as man has been here. Of, I want control. I want you to believe this. And instead of doing it with war, which they're still doing it with war, they're doing it, like you said, through this disinformation. What better way than to use AI and the new media platforms that are out there to get messages into not just the adults, but the kids, with the video games of war against aliens.
Yeah. The perfect setup. I hadn't even thought of that, Emery, that they're even using video games. And of course, the media also to desensitize us to an alien invasion or to be fearful of such an event. I mean, why do you think NASA would be holding off on these pictures until right at the last moment? And then the campaign just goes live, full board, everything you got, throw it at them.
The command was given, right?
Yeah. And we're not going to have enough time to discern it, because
No.
I think it's just going to come out like a floodgate.
That's what they want, Brad.
Yeah.
They want it. There's no time, especially if power goes out or TV, what's the best way to surprise the enemy, meaning mankind, with all this information and then black out, and then, oh my gosh, what do we do? What's going on out there? And that's why, we teach a lot of this training for that as well, and getting your home prepared and getting the right, what we call GTFO bags, get the freak out of here bags, and being able to still communicate through, if there is communication left. And if you're interested in that, write into cosmicmarket3@gmail.com. That's my email. Cameron's going to put it here in the comments, and we can help you guys get ready for this event. So, it's very serious because it is on the timeline and it is happening right now. I like when Brad says right now, because it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when that agenda that Warner von Braun, Reagan, and everyone has been warning us for over 3 decades.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's that moment in history that people are going to be talking about hundreds of years from now.
Yes. Oh, for sure. This is one of the most epic times in history. It's already happened, not to get all philosophical and getting into that. This is something that's already happened, and it's part of all of us to be part of this, to escalate into the next level of consciousness and change.
And this is my rendition of the yellow cube.
Yes.
That device that can look at any event in history, but also give you projections of the future, but not a clear picture, because the future is nothing but a series of probabilities. So the yellow cube will look at future probabilities. And so you can use it to go on one timeline and say, okay, we go into full thermonuclear war. The planet is on its knees. What's going to happen then? Which, by the way, that's timeline 2, and the globalists have been trying to get us on. Now it's going into the next phase, which is Project Bluebeam. Is going to be bigger consequences than anyone can imagine. And we should do a follow-up in 6 months or a year, Emery, because
oh man, we're going to be doing this Yeah, because it's changing,
Oh, so much.
you and I were talking like 6 months ago. Yeah, we're gonna do a couple episodes, and then behind the scenes, guys, there's so much going on. It's like we have to tell someone. We gotta get it out there. We gotta whatever we have. That's our job here on planet Earth, is to release the information we have and to bring in people like yourself and talk about the people that we are in contact with that don't want to have their faces shown, and put that information together, which is a huge undertaking. And I want to thank you for everything you've done for society and mankind. It's amazing. You guys got to get his books and read his books. They're fascinating, especially the new one coming out in December. It's full of information, and it helps you kind of understand the unfolding of all this and all the work that Brad has put into his life, for you, the viewers, to understand and put it into context, because you can't ever rely on the media. It's 99.9% false, and that 0.1% is misleading, because they always put a little bit of the truth into the story, so it looks phantasmical and fascinating and real at the same time.
I'm submitting Secrets of Antarctica to the printer this week.
And yay! Congratulations.
Put it up on CCC publishing website. That's my publishing website. And also we'll have the ebook version available, which will be great because that can be released. But by the end of the year, this book's coming out, Emery, and as we said in our first Antarctica episode, we're going to do another one or two because there's so much material here. But I've got the smoking guns that the Nazis had U-boat routes under the ice, well deep into Antarctica. And so that's where I think the confusion with flat Earth or the ice wall or the land beyond the wall, yeah, it's there, but it's under the ice. And it is a round planet, but there's been a lot of confusion about what exactly lies beyond there. And we have very detailed maps now that came from the KGB, that they were the very first intelligence gathering operation into Berlin right after the war, and several other locations around Berlin and also Dresden, that they were collecting this incredible cache of materials. And when the Soviet Union collapsed in the early 1990s, a lot of this stuff went out on the black market. And
yes,
so
yeah.
you've got alien autopsy videos from the Soviet Union eras. You got crash retrievals with multiple angles where you can see the other cameraman and compare it and realize it's absolutely authentic. But then you had this incredible data dump of everything pertaining to Antarctica. And the new Russian Federation, they decided we're not going to keep it all bottled up as they did in the Soviet Union era. And even though the KGB still has its own form now, they had basically this perestroika, this opening of information in which they did this. They did basically a TV show, a 90-minute show, which I have links and I've quoted from in the book, where they basically said, this is what we know about Antarctica. And Operation High Jump ended in a big disaster. And that's why it's still classified to this day. So I know another interview we're going to do the deep dive into Antarctica. And a lot of this stuff I have in my esoteric series of books, because, as you know, I went down there about 7 years ago, but also when I was in South America for the 3 months before and after, a 4-month trip in total, a month in Antarctica, I was going to all these Nazi sites or former Nazi sites and locations where they have bought huge amounts of land. And you, of course, did a bunch of great interviews with John Lear. And I was communicating with him for a while, too. And he was telling me about micronations. And we found locations in Brazil Chile and Argentina, where the Germans bought up huge tracts of land, some of them the size of our small states, like the size of Delaware or Connecticut. And it's a German micronation. And John Lear was telling me how they did it and how they're doing it here.
Yeah.
And even Area 51 or El of Nellis is like a micronation that you have to sign oaths to get in there, and you can't reveal the secrets, and not everybody that goes in comes out, kind of thing. So
it's a big transport hub, I'll tell you that much, not only with water, but other portals and maglevs and, underwater highways go right through there. The reason people don't come back is because they're probably in Antarctica or somewhere else.
or off planet.
Off planet.
Imported somewhere.
We have great, I know Sebastian was trying to reach out to you the other day, and he has some mind-blowing information with a active duty person serving on the other side of the wall.
Okay. Well, boy, I'd love to hear him. If we want to bring him on, let's talk about it. Here's the maglev fruit below.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I got.
Who first showed me? It's not that one, but when I was with John Lear, he has this map. It's like the size of, it's like 8 feet by like 4 feet. Yeah.
These are the submarine routes.
Yeah.
So they got the maglev routes, and then they got the submarine routes.
Oh, it's brilliant. I love it. And John Lear was showing me these maps. And we have pictures of them. Darla took a lot of pictures. He actually, when he passed away, we were able to acquire for a short period of time for storage a lot of this classified information. And these maps were just so, I'm asking Allie Lear if she will let us, utilize these maps again, because I want to get copies to you. And they're so detailed, and they're military maps of all the maglevs and all the, most importantly, the underground aqua highways.
Let's publish the book, Emery.
It's like I'm working on it. I'm working on it for you, and trying to actually get her on, because she, is the sole proprietor of the classified information, which is very sensitive. However, he has the crafts. He has the pictures of the German crafts, the crafts. He has been part of flying missions that have aerial photography of the micronations in Africa down there, and other bases in the middle of nowhere in Brazil and South America that was never released. And of course, these are very old pictures, and you can't make, this is not like some photos. They didn't have Photoshop,
No.
We could look at some of the fake moon stuff, and you can see how we can just pick that apart. So I think, eventually that's going to come out as well. And it gives you, it's just a mind blowing to see real government documents and real people that were part of these clandestine projects, like Lear, who has flown David Adair, Richard Doty to Area 51. It's incredible that this is not really talked about, because that's a whole nother underground, facility and cities that are being built right now. A new one being built in Vernal, Utah. I'll probably get in trouble for saying that. That's taking the place of Denver. So they're closing Denver because it's exposed, and building this other underground facility that is massive, very massive.
And not too far away from Dugway, which is
Dugway Proving Grounds
one. And then they also have the NSA with all the supercomputers in Utah. So that's becoming the new Nevada with all the high top secret
stuff. It is, yeah. Oh man, it's great. So I'm working on getting that stuff for you. Well, yeah, I mean, do you want to bring on Sebastian if he's available?
Sure.
He wants to tell you some interesting things, and everyone's going to hear it firsthand. And it's the update with, are we done with 3i Atlas? pretty much, or
Pretty much. I mean,
yeah, okay,
we could talk about a few more things till he can get on, but
okay,
it's just
yeah. What do
that
you?
there was a whole bunch of at first ridicule that it was anything more than a meteor, but it shows no tail, by the way. So if it was a meteor, it would start to be shedding and melting, and like Halley's Comet or Hale-Bopp, all the other ones, they always have tails. This one has no tails, and that it's been accelerating, slowing down, and then flipping in different directions. And now
Yeah,
it's
what do you
got
think
its
about
tail
that?
to the sun.
Yeah, Brad, tell me what is your opinion on, all that, because they're saying not only did it slow down, speed up, change direction, even, Loeb said, no, this is under intelligent control because
Right.
it's doing this. How are they not addressing that, or is that part of the disinformation?
Well, people like Loeb are certainly discussing it, but he had a big falling out with Russ Coulthard, who was just saying, "Oh no, mate, that Australian guy. He's just a journalist. He's like, I'm the astrophysicist. You should listen to my data. I am doing the research." And Russ is like, "Come on, mate. It's just a meteor. Don't get blown out of shape." So even in our community, there's a lot of division.
Oh, right. Yeah.
About what it is and what's going on. So all of this just muddies the water, right? So
Yeah.
none of us really know what the heck it is. I'm still kind of thinking maybe it is some kind of satellite object, maybe under some kind of artificial control, but has blue beam projections on it to make it look like a ship.
Absolutely. One of my scientists, close scientists, I wish he was here today. He's here pretty much every day. He had a good point, and he's like, Emery, extraterrestrials don't travel linear style. There are extraterrestrials that do travel linear style that are not as advanced, but just getting to that, why would they do that? So that it makes me also think you're correct. They could actually just come here through a wormhole and be here right now. Sebastian Martin, remote viewer.
Hey,
One of my
how you doing?
great
Hi,
brothers.
Brad.
Hey, Sebastian, nice to see you.
Long time no see.
Thanks for coming on, Sebastian. It's always a great pleasure. And, we're talking, I know you wanted to say some mind-blowing breaking things to Brad and I, and it's great that this is going to go out to thousands of people.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Why don't you educate us?
So basically, when I was in touch with the CERN scientists who gave me the information about the portal opening up there, where the occupants of 3 Atlas showed up, this was not, conspiracy theories. This was real information from this woman. And then she vanished, and she's still, in hiding. I don't think she's dead. I heard that she was not dead, but she's definitely in hiding. She's not talking anymore. And from my contact in Dubai, she basically has a sister who, what I found out a few days ago, is that she also a scientist who is working beyond the wall of Antarctica as a scientist. And what she explained, she mentioned 2 things. I don't really know much details about it yet. I haven't spoken to her directly, but what I've heard is that she said that the maps of the world as we know them are completely wrong. And there's definitely like a world beyond the wall of Antarctica, and it's not underground. I understand where you come from, Brad, because I'm aware also of the tunnels that the U-boats use from the Nazis to go underneath the ice, and they have like maps like exactly to go in very warm locations, and that's they have different access points.
Yeah.
But she also mentioned that there were lands above ground that were completely cloaked, even to the ISS. They can't even see it from space. But it's actually above ground. It's not below ground. There are some accesses below ground. There are multiple levels. Like, for example, when Admiral Byrd, I believe, went to Antarctica, he was meeting aliens like Agarthians, I believe, there. And it was underground. It was not above ground. That's my understanding. I might be wrong. I don't know enough of the subject, but I've been told that he was meeting with like ETs there, and then they rescued him because he was about to die or something. He was close to hypothermia or hypothermic with 2 crew members. Now, tell me if I'm wrong or not. That's what I heard. And obviously he was underground at that point. But the scientist that I know of, basically has gone beyond the wall and is above ground and works there often and comes back, and she's not using a submarine to go there.
So is she at the ice shelf, which looks like a wall, or are they up on top of it, or?
She's on the other side of the wall.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't be below the ice, it would be deep underground military.
It's lush land.
Yeah, well, that's the way Byrd described it in his diary.
Yeah.
When he flew into this realm, and he said that he couldn't believe his own eyes either, that there were even megafauna and megaflora, that they first spotted what they thought was an elephant. They looked at it closer, and it was a woolly mammoth. So it's like, this stuff just boggles the mind. How could this be possible? But I like what you said, Sebastian, about they're cloaking it and that it could be there all along, but you just can't see it. And everything makes it look like a globe. And for the most part, it probably is. But then this could be supplanted on top of it, like you said.
Right. You mentioned the U-boats going underneath the ice, and as you know, there were many U-boats still to this day who basically vanished. I think they were like unaccounted U-boats, like 130
over 100
U-boats, right?
Yeah.
And some of them surrendered 6 months after the Second World War, to Argentina, and say, we surrender after a nice trip to to Antarctica.
And so, they interrogated those U-boat captains and all the crew. They were coming back with guys still had wounds from the war. Like they just pulled them out in Hamburg. Hamburg and Norway were still under German control on the very last day of the war, of the surrender. And they were pulling everything out in what is known as Valkyrie 2. And this is what they got out of the U-boat captains, that they were on this, the Fuhrer's convoy. And we found the passports that officers and enlisted men were using to go to New Schwabenland. That was an official German colony with its own passports. And some of those passports were aboard the Fuhrer's convoy, which at the end of the war, they were getting everything out of there, all the last people, including Hitler. And I did tours in South America, as I was just saying to Emery. And one of those places I went was this German enclave in a town called La Falda, Argentina, in the Cordoba Sierras, another mountain range in Argentina. And the Germans love mountains. So they had all the money and they set it up. And the Eichhorns were these hotel owners that were meeting all the time with Hitler. They'd go to Germany. And then Hitler had a safe house there. And so I did the tour of the Eden Hotel, and I asked the guy, my tour guide, and he could speak English pretty well. I said, "Do you really think Hitler survived?" He goes, "Oh, I know that they do." And I said, "Well, how do you know that he did?" And he says, "There is a woman right here in town. She's about 90 years old now, but she was a teenager and a chambermaid at the Eden Hotel. And she remembers him being there. And she's even taken a lie detector test and passed it. And he came with Eva Braun, his new wife, and even their dog Blondie. And they had 2 daughters. And Hitler lived out his whole life in South America and is supposedly buried in Peru or Paraguay, in Ashwat, the big hotel, unmarked grave. But when I was down there 7 years ago, there was a huge news story that they found this house in Buenos Aires with these hidden rooms with all kinds of Third Reich artifacts and all kinds of stuff. I mean, they had their foothold in South America, and that is what I think is the Fourth Reich. But also they got a lot of their technology out. And so a lot of these UFO sightings in the 40s and 50s were probably them just testing out their UFOs. Because also right near La Falda is a big mountain, Cerro Monte. And even in The Lonely Planet, we're reading, oh yeah, there's this is a UFO hotspot. So Emily Infinity, my girlfriend at the time, we drove out there like, yeah, let's go do a night watch. Of course, we didn't see anything, but said that there were burn marks that these UFOs were leaving and that abducted people. This is even saying it in the Lonely Planet, which is like the New York Times of travel guides, mainstream travel media. So I get back to America, and I'm happy to see my friend David Hatcher Childress from Ancient Aliens fame. He's written a whole bunch of books on these subjects too, all about the Vril, and right here in my reading material, the Honeydew crafts, and got a lot of great information from Childress. And I told him about this watch we did and how the Lonely Planet was describing all these UFO sightings over the decades. He goes, Brad, that's not aliens. That's the Nazis. They had an underground base there and they were working on their backward engineered technology. I was like, oh, yeah, I guess so. You really think that aliens would leave burn marks in the grass or be so wanton about abducting people from this local town? It's like, no, dude, those are the Germans. They were working on it. So if you caught just before you came on, Sebastian, I was talking about the micronations in South America too, and how they got a lot of their technology, all the money. You know, Martin Bormann was the money man. He was put on trial at the Nuremberg trials and found guilty and would have served a death penalty, but they never caught him. And he keeps popping up all over South America in the 1950s. So they got so much loot out of Germany and the countries that they had captured in World War II. There are metric tons of gold that have still not been recovered, as well as priceless artifacts and paintings, and then what they could also forge. They kept master forgers, so then they could flood the currencies of other countries. And they were definitely doing that with the U.S. dollar and the English pound. So they had all the ways and the means to set up the Fourth Reich. And this is what I think is the third force here, you guys. They were fanning the flame of discontent between the NATO countries and the Russian bloc countries. And they all the while lost their fighting forces, but they were an intelligence force with Antarctica and these micronations in South America as being their new headquarters.
So why do you think, Hitler didn't actually stay in Antarctica if it was such like a lush land and a new world that, his generals even said, this is like new Germany, like you could basically establish yourself there.
New Berlin.
Why did he move to South America if it was so good for him?
Well, I think part of it is it's kind of lonely down there, but he loves the mountains. They had the eagle's nest down in Birch's Garden. I went there in southern Germany. And so his Inalco house in Bariloche, which we tried to get close, but you can't drive anywhere close to it. I mean, it's like a compound. And Hitler lived there, but they did that show called Hunting Hitler. And I do agree. He went to see the Antarctica colonies, and there's more than one. It wasn't just base 211, New Berlin, and also the Toul colony. I've identified 3 in my new book, locations of the Germans. And so he probably went there, but just like kind of, let me just lay low in the.
Do you think the Nordics were obviously working with the Germans or the Nazis and they're still there? Or probably. Do you think they moved on?
Well, that's what it kind of sounds like Admiral Byrd experienced in his diary, because he said there were 2 really tall blonde guys that came out of the Flugelrods after they landed his plane at the domain of the Ariane. And this was in late 1946. It was one of the first operations of high jump. And it's even in the official logs that Byrd was meant to fly to the South Pole again. And there are 3 hours of missing time. So it does corroborate with his journal entries in his diary that was published by his son, who also was on high jump. A lot of people don't know this. Richard Byrd Jr. was on high jump. And certainly his dad told him a lot of this stuff. So Byrd then comes back. He gets interrogated. Everybody does. They're all read the Riot Act, especially after Byrd said that they had the ability to fly pole to pole at incredible speeds to the El Mercurio newspaper. But then he had a gag order. But Byrd went on one more operation down there, and that's called Operation Deep Freeze. And I have this great military study by Captain Mark Richards that I've quoted out of, and it is really a military handbook. And in it, he said that they were giving, so that after high jump was a resounding victory for the Antarctic Germans. Then you have the flyover in Washington, D.C. in 1952, right when Truman's leaving and Eisenhower's coming in. And of course, I'm really good friends with Laura Eisenhower, and we're deep discussions about what kind of raw deal Dwight D. Eisenhower got when he stepped in, because Truman essentially surrendered to the Antarctica Germans with that flyover. Those were Germans. Those are the craft of ability to fly pole to pole at incredible speeds.
Yeah.
So then they were going to go down and nuke them, and they may have even tried in Operation Argus. Right after that, they start the Antarctica Treaty with one of the top notes: you cannot have nuclear bombs or do nuclear testing, specifically stating no nukes in Antarctica. And it's because they wanted to protect these Antarctica Germans, and they continued to build their science city. And it got as very advanced as being the first humans to the moon, first humans to Mars, first humans beyond. I think if history is really going to be told, the Nachtwaffen was the first out there. And not to knock our guys. I mean, they still did a great thing, but the Germans had the technology first.
That's right. And I can tell you that, my involvement with the SSP and Kruger, I don't know if you followed me or not, but when I was tasked to go and see the Stargate of Iraq that was stolen and moved in Eastern Europe, I saw the Stargate with a white Draco reptilian. And this is not part of the SSP. That Draco reptilian actually works for Kruger, which is actually a German-based SSP. That's actually started off in Germany, and I believe that what we call the Galactic Federation of Light contains some of these beings as well. Like the Nordics started it with the White Draco reptilians, and they are part of the Galactic Federation of Lights, but working for the bad guys. That's what I believe. Because I got attacked by one of those White Draco reptilians, and I know Laura as well. We talked about the psionic attacks, and I couldn't really believe it at the time when she was telling me this, because I never experienced it until that time. So when the reptilian saw me, he attacked me, and then I recognized his frequency, and he attacked me twice, not just once. So when I say that it's very compartmentalized between the SSP, between the CIA, between all these organizations. There are some people that work for the SSP that work for the CIA as well, and it doesn't mean that they are reporting to the director of the CIA either. So, again, all of these people are so compartmentalized, and it's so black and white. You have the good guys, good for disclosure, and now those are exactly like what you said about the Project Bluebeam, who are pushing for that agenda as well, because they want to keep society, the secret orders, everything that they have in place. They don't want that to change. So they will fight off good or bad ETs coming in, regardless of what it is. And if it's about creating an agenda, they will do that. So I'm fully aware of all of that. But what I can tell you is just recently, I was in touch with people working for the White House in government who basically were saying, don't worry about what's going on with 3 Atlas. It's all under control. We have it under control. We can, defect them. We can just push them away, and then they won't bother us. And so I said, okay, because back in June, I was even sharing that with Sid Goldberg, at Gaia TV. I said, I really see that the reptilians are coming. I could feel the energy. I was freaking out. I had visions of them. And, he said, well, we can't vouch for it because nobody else is talking about this then. And then over time, he obviously got more information, more data, and more people came forward with the same information. And, when I got back from China, I just spoke to the same people that were telling me, "Oh, don't worry, it's all under control." With the 3 Atlas, they now were freaking out. They were actually losing their cool because what happened was they tried to send 9 crafts towards 3 Atlas, and they tried to basically shoot at it, and nothing was touching it. It was like a fly on the wall. Nothing was touching it. So when they failed, they were worried. And then they sent a much bigger craft that carried 50 tons of nuclear weapons on it. And they actually didn't send it straight to 3 Atlas, they sent it to the sun. And that's what you've just seen recently as the solar flare that came from the back of the sun that was supposed to be going towards 3 Atlas and making it change its route or at least damaging it. It did nothing. It was so protected. The shield is so strong that that thing is not slowing down. It's not slowing down. It's not changing course, and it's not even responding. So when I remote viewed 3 Atlas, when I was asked to look inside, I was not attacked by the direct reptilians then, but I saw 5 million direct reptilians on board in stasis. They were sleeping in pods. Now, today, they are fully awake, and those crafts already left 3 Atlas, and they are already cloaking themselves around the Earth, waiting for the next command. So this is not Project Blue Beam. The guys at the SSP are freaking out as well, and they know that they will have to fight them at some point. It's not just like a small shooting randomly, like in one area. It's going to be global. And we're going to be seeing that not in November, not in December, but January.
Ooh.
Yeah. So the actual contact that CERN talked about, and that's again directly from CERN, the contact that we'll be seeing them in the sky is going to be happening in November. So in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But it doesn't mean they're going to be engaging. They're just going to be showing themselves up all around the world. And what you discussed about the EMPs, that is potentially going to happen. It doesn't mean it's guaranteed yet, but it is potentially going to happen. So during that time, I would definitely recommend people to prepare for food, at least to have like at least 2 months worth of supplies at home. Because if you live in a remote area or in a village or whatever it is, you won't have the help for at least 3 to 4 weeks from the government. Simply it's logistically speaking, it's not possible to help everyone at once. China already launched a video like nationwide for the whole population. 2 types of videos. One that indicates a potential war with the aliens in 2045. It's all made by AI, but they released that for the whole nation on national television. And they're warning the people, saying for potential disaster, get ready, get prepared. And then they launched another video that said, this is the kind of kit that you should be buying to survive.
Yeah.
They're doing that right now. So
is that, when was that? What time frame did they give the Chinese people?
They didn't give any time frames. They are just saying,
they said, get ready,
get prepared.
Yeah.
And they just share that video, very elaborate video, showing robots that the Chinese military have created to fight off an alien invasion, which is kind of interesting. And they use the date of 2045 on their video, which is kind of, ironic. I don't think they really want people to panic. They're just, warning them. So this is potentially what could happen, because we don't have the capacity to look after all of you for over 1 billion people in China. There's no way.
And that's one possible timeline, Sebastian, if we're going to break things down. We're talking about the ship. They launched all these, armament towards them. That ship is hyperdimensionally fluxing in and out. So
yes,
our normal weapons would not affect any of these craft because it'll go right through. I just wanted to say that for the audience so they know scientifically, it's not that it's not there, it's there. It's just because of the physics of the advanced physics they have. That's why they can change shape. They can, get anywhere at any time. One of the questions, earlier, Sebastian, was, well, we all know, like from a higher up, scientist was questioning me, they wouldn't use linear space and time to show that they're coming. They're already here. It's like you just verified, those craft are already here, which we knew about. That maybe you can explain that, a little bit of what you predict. Or when the
I don't
crap
want to,
comes by, because it changes.
yeah.
It's every day it's changing. They're saying, oh, it's going faster, it's slower, it's changing direction. Now they're saying,
It's not
through the
changing
media.
course. It's not
No.
changing course. And just yesterday in Dubai, they saw a solar eclipse that lasted 3 seconds, and everybody saw it, but no one. It was not in the news. No one ever commented on that. And it's almost like some big crafts were flying right in front of the sun, and it created some kind of eclipse large enough that it was not 3 Atlas. It was something else, but no media mentioned it. And I know physical witnesses who saw it with their own eyes, and credible witnesses too. So it's something that is definitely happening. Like if it's cloaking after the facts, I think there might be some much bigger crafts around the Earth right now cloaking themselves. I felt that their energy is on and off, and it's all Draco based, because being attacked twice from them and dying the second time around and being saved by my star family, I can tell you I can recognize the energies from millions of years, millions of miles away, and I could feel them very closely back in June, and they are coming. So
What's
that's
the agenda? I mean, I know you and your remote viewing team, Sebastian.
yeah.
What is the agenda behind this?
I believe that I said that on Gaia, that they want to gather the star seeds of his planet, and the gathering that they want to talk about is basically destroying their souls. That's what they want to do. They want to destroy the star seeds because it's creating basically a military advantage for future wars with all the galactic alliance, species that they've been fighting off, or they will be fighting off in the future. And from my perspective and my experience is that I'm just a fraction of a soul from a galactic alliance species like the Pleiadians. And as an experiencer on Earth, I can relate to that. I felt it, I lived it. So if they destroy all the star seeds on this planet, who are already used as an experiment for the Pleiadians and other species, then it weakens their ranks. And that's exactly what they're looking for
Why
with
are
this kind
they
of invasion.
why are they creating an invasion, that's very medieval, I'll say, if you have to come down and shoot and make a big Hollywood war out of it,
Yeah.
when we both know, Sebastian, psionically, they could just program all of us or the star seeds into going crazy. Why would they go through such an elaborate showcase?
They can't. Like, all the people I know, and again, this is what I spoke to, like Shifus in China, I spoke to shamans in South America, and they all said the same thing. They all saw the Draco reptilians coming in. They all know like 3 Atlas is Draco reptilian. Full
But
stop.
I'm just saying, are they planning a
An
hand-to-hand
invasion. They
combat?
want
Yeah,
they don't want to invade, they want to take over the planet.
By force.
That's their goal. By force, yes. And the thing is, like, they have established a treaty with the gray aliens to say, we don't want the NPCs, like the non-player characters on Earth. We just want to get the star seeds, and there are about 80 million of us here, and that's what they're after. That's what they care about. They don't care about the rest. They just want to get rid of the star seeds. That's the main focus.
well, that would make
And
sense because that's who's telling the truth, the narrative that's going to happen, and that's the control factor of the planet, is people like us that are out here talking and
game changers.
the game
Yeah.
changers.
people who are going against the mainstream and against the societal orders. And what you have to realize is, I spoke to 3 mothers whose sons were on the telepathy tapes, 3 of them, and they all said the same thing. Those kids, they are the best remote viewers on this planet, and they were able to remote view 3 Atlas. I asked them, I said, we don't want to make it public because we don't want them to be like, monkey on, in a circus. We don't want them to show them off. But they basically said that it's going to be the end of patriarchy and the end of societal order as we know it. This is what they saw from 3 Atlas, or at least the interactions from it. And then the end results of that will be enlightenment. Basically, we're going to be going to the 5 dimensions on Earth. So there is a positive outcome. All the people I spoke to, like in China and even in South America, they all said that they see the same positive outcome arising from a 4-year war between the reptilians and humanity. That's basically what they
Well,
are forecasting.
is this a physical war?
Yes. Yeah, so the Galactic Federation of Light helping the SSP, helping our governments worldwide, they will be involved in that. Again, because there are some bad factions who are supporting the 3 Atlas. Those factions will do all they can to make the secret society survive and society as we know it survive. So it's going to be almost like war within the SSP as well, because that's inevitable. And that's the reason why the star seeds are currently being awakened so they can actually fight or being part of the fight against the Dracos moving forward. And that includes the Galactic Alliance coming on Earth for the first time. They never showed up before because they always respected the treaties between all the star seeds and all the races involved in those treaties. So, we were supposed to be living our lives as human beings and live and die without even being aware that we are star seeds. In my case, in 2011, I had an encounter. My star brother came to see me and then awoke me. And then so my star family then said, well, your role now, because you are awoken, is to awake yourself, the star seeds of this planet. And I didn't know what to do then. So, I've been doing interviews, small interviews, here and there. And I wrote a book about it and I thought that I'm done. I've done my bit. And so I stayed quiet about it. But and then I had the opportunity of going on Gaia TV, and I've been able to go on more podcasts. Like I was just invited in at the American Alchemist. I've done more now that I've done, and the latest videos I have became viral, and more people are approaching me and contacting me for being aware of what's coming. And they all share the same ideas, that they can sense that. They know it's something that's ominous that's coming in. And those people are from all over the world. I've been in touch with people from like Mexico, South America, Japan, you name it, like China, all over the world. And they're all sensing the same thing.
Wouldn't you say, Sebastian and Brad, that we do have to go through this process in order for the elevation of consciousness and to fulfill the universal pathway and code that basically our mission?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's the dark night of the soul that we have to hit rock bottom, or this level where it seems so hopeless that maybe we're not going to come out of it. But then all of a sudden, way off in the distance, you see the light at the end of the tunnel and you keep going for it. And then we come out the other side of all this, and maybe we are stepping into our fifth dimensional reality, or some kind of utopian scenario where we can sit at the table with the benevolent ETs, and then that would be an absolute game changer for Earth and humans. So I hope we're not going to get enslaved and lose all our star seeds, because this is the battle for planet Earth right here, right now. And we're the ground crew, you guys. It really is up to us in many ways. And all the listeners out there, we're humans born in these bodies in the prime of our lives right now at this time, to do something about it, if not just to inform others, to say this is a very momentous occasion upon us. And like you said, Sebastian, you got to have supplies. You got to be prepared. We could go into dark times. This could be the dark night of the soul, where shit, the power's out and there's aliens up there and they're going to try to get rid of all the stars. But we got to just be true to our faith and know that we're going to come through this. And I have faith in the human race. We're going to do this.
Definitely. Yeah, we'll prevail. This is what everybody I know said, that we are going to be prevailing, and the Dracos won't stay. They will be booted out of the earth and they won't come back. That's what I know. Why
isn't the Galactic Federation already, have the power to not let this happen?
They don't. And in fact, they tried. They helped the SSP to deflect that 3i Atlas, and they couldn't do it. That's the reason why they really believe that they had the help and the right technology to go against it. But they realized that this craft is way more powerful than they even imagined. And the way it's, I saw it shapeshift. Like I saw the black goo technology on board.
Wow.
It can change shape, and it's all controlled by AI. Like there was no one in the command module when I witnessed it when I went there. There was just like maybe like one or two people, but they were not in charge of controlling anything. They were just walking around the deck, and everybody else were in thesis, in the back of the craft, in pods. So they weren't taking any room. But since maybe like a week ago, I felt that now the crafts left the three Atlas and are already moving towards Earth, and so they're all working now. And my latest workshop, we never discussed that, but in my latest workshop, I had one new guy who never experienced anything in his entire life. And he only showed up at the workshop because his wife wanted to come. And he was the chief firefighter of Las Vegas.
Oh, okay.
And he basically had a full-blown awakening while here. And he went on 3 Atlas. And he saw a royal white Draco reptilian there in charge, in full armor with robes, and he never experienced any of this in the past. He couldn't even describe, like if you ask him, he said, I don't know anything about aliens. He only came because his wife wanted to show up. And he described it even in more details. I couldn't even describe it myself. And he said that the guy saw him and said, "What are you doing here?" And he didn't know what to say. So I'm here for all peace and love. it was like dead silent. And so he was booted off. He went back into his body after the session, and he went for another session after that. And then he saw this big reptilian eye observing him, and he started having a panic attack with his heart rate going way up, and he was being attacked by the same Draco reptilians because he went on board. And he didn't know how to protect himself on the spot. And then he realized, oh, I've got tools, because I taught those people on how to, differentiate timelines from false flags to whatever, like you talked about, Brad, about, the Project Blue Beam, what is being sent their way. And it's all about recognizing the right frequencies when you remote view and the right timeline as well. So it's very, very important. And so he used the tools I gave him, and he was able to send him away, and he was no longer attacked. And he felt good about it. He wrote it down and then, debriefed, and then we talked about the whole experience. But those people who came got changed, and they left on a mission, literally.
Yes, right.
They had a very transformative experience.
Yes, everyone, Sebastian Martin has an amazing educational, platform. It's the only one I actually recommend out there right now. Please visit his website. Cameron will put it up, and if you need to contact him, his information's there. It's a wealth. I don't know if you heard, Sebastian, but before maybe you came on, I was just telling everyone that when you are remote viewing, these remote viewers that are just coming on, that are kind of not at the echelon we are, they are also maybe getting psionic, interference.
Yeah.
And you can't just remote view and not have the tools that you give these students, because it's easy to get, number one, harmed, like it can happen, deadly. And the other part is having the discernment of the frequency, like you just said. I'm just reiterating what I was talking about earlier about you and your course, that without these tools, which is very imperative at this time, that you learn this either through his, he's going to have an amazing educational platform that we're doing for Sebastian here in the next, I think, November. And also, if you can't,
November 8th, he's going to do an online training session for 4 hours, and I already have like 50 attendees, and I just put it on like 2 days ago. So it's pretty exciting. But yeah, I will be able to share more then. But the one-on-one workshop is definitely the most useful, because I can interact with the people. I can feel the energy on site. It's way more convenient because I can have a one-on-one. And I do want anybody to travel in November because of what I know. So I've canceled all of my workshops for November and decided to do online training instead, for that same reason.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I completely recommend that for anyone that's trying to get into remote viewing. The courses that are out there, even with Monroe, even though you have the best guy for Monroe, it's not as in depth as what you go through.
No,
that
like
they
again,
offer.
they only
It's
teach
not.
a certain portion,
Yeah.
and they don't give the tools again to differentiate frequencies and false
Mhm.
flags and protection tools is not enough. It's not elaborate enough
Mm-mm.
based on what I know. And so, in order to enhance and protect yourself, like when I first remote viewed and I saw the Stargate, I was a newbie. I was only doing remote viewing for 2 years. It was very new to me, and I got attacked. And now I'm not getting attacked because I know how to protect myself, and that's a
Mhm.
big difference. So at the time I got attacked, I knew how to heal myself, but still, it was too powerful, and I could not heal myself well. And the actual protection was so important. And if I had those in place then, I would have been in a very different shape.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to teach all of my students when they come over
Right.
here, because it's
Mhm.
so important to protect yourself
Right.
from all of these outside sources, and because you become a beacon of light when you open yourself up to
Yeah.
these ETs. They recognize you, they can see you from all over the place, and whatever you project in your mind can be detected from miles away,
Yeah, I
and
always say be
they
careful
can
what you
pick
wish
up on it.
for before you
Yes.
remote view, because you
Yeah,
don't want to end up in the wrong place.
that's right.
Well, getting back to Antarctica and your connection over there,
Mhm.
Brad, do you have any questions about I don't want to give the person a title. I'll say the active duty service member, Sebastian.
She's a
Um,
scientist. I was
mhm.
told she's a full-fledged scientist.
Mhm.
As to know what she does over there, like again, I haven't gone into the full details. I would like to know more. I'm curious because I've been told this, but this is not my specialty. This is your specialty, Brad. I just came across it by accident, and I just would like to know more. And I can ask more questions, and I can relay them to you, and you can deal with it. But
Yeah,
uh,
please do.
I won't go live with that myself. This is not my thing, but I will let you deal with it for sure.
Well, could you ask her what base she's based
Uh,
out of,
yes,
or if
I will
she's working
ask.
off a ship,
Yep,
or
I
yeah,
will ask. I will ask more details for sure.
yeah, where she's physically located on the
Yes.
continent?
Okay. I will let you know as soon as I know.
And
Yeah.
remember in the very first movie, Aliens, the first alien, when they woke up out of hibernation in the early part of the movie, they got in connection with Earth, and it was the Antarctica Air Patrol Station. The space port was through Antarctica. So I think space or fiction and reality sometimes draw a very thin line. That
Yes, that's
there's
true.
more going on in Antarctica than we have any idea.
That's true.
And absolutely, even when I was at Sandia Labs, in these libraries, there was maps and maps of planet Earth that were way beyond the size of planet Earth, number one, and shown beyond, Antarctica. Not that it was flat, the Earth or anything like that, but there was these maps of other continents that were not, part of our general terminology. And what was verified is when they flew me to the Vatican, I went underground in their libraries. They had intricate maps as well that were, 20 by 30 feet, maps that were exposing all these different continents. But I wasn't part of the project to go investigate that. I was doing something else with some alien technology. But it was talked about through the scientists that there was definitely the maps were not complete, of course, on Earth, and they
Mhm.
were keeping that completely clandestine for some reason. And I think, it's going to be released, I think, in the next couple of years because they don't have a choice because they're being pressured by these extraterrestrial invasion and also the SSP and everyone that's involved with this defense system. It's gonna it's gonna be shown. There's going to be also pictures that will be released that I was told that they're also going to disinform that map when it does come out, and it's going to be just beat up terribly. And I don't know how they're going to do that so it's convincing, but we're going to see.
Yeah, I already seen that map.
Yeah.
But the thing is, like, you know, when you think about the PRS map, Brad, you know, PRS as a Portuguese commander basically saw the Antarctica without the ice borders, like basically without the ice. And so,
Yeah.
and which is matches what we know of when we just, you know, zoom through the ice, we can see that it matches the contours of the land. And that map is very ancient. Even if it was built or put together in the 1500s, the original map for Antarctica, for what was used in the PRS map, was obviously predating the Lemurians. And so I believe that that piece of the map was also attached to the Kingdom of Agartha and everything else that we know of, but it was not disclosed or shared to PRS at the time. So that would be very interesting to know exactly how that map was created and from which piece of Antarctica and how is it attached to the rest that hasn't been disclosed to anybody else then. Because obviously those maps are still around and they do exist. Like you said, Emery, if it's at the Vatican, that makes total sense. Those maps have not vanished; they still exist today.
And
Yep.
so, real quick, then, why would they not want their Earthlings to know about the expanded? You know, is this just the bubble of the matrix of control society? For what reason? But what have you remote viewed? And I'll tell you what we remote viewed. What is going on that other side? You know, Brad's biggest question in the world is, well, why are we being confined? Who is in charge of that, and why?
I believe it's the SSP.
Hmm.
So the reason being is because all the governments around Antarctica, as you know, there are many nations who control the access to Antarctica, and they know what's beyond the wall, but they won't disclose it, and they'll be preventing people to go past that because they don't want like the world to know that there are aliens living there, and they won't budge. They'll be staying there forever, and they've been there
Right.
before humanity as well. They were there before us. So it's kind of a part of a treaty saying that we won't touch you, we won't disturb you, we let you be, but don't harm us and don't try to like disclose yourself to the world. So I think maybe like High Jump and other projects after that was the starting point. Like you said, going to Washington D.C., saying this is what we can do to you. We can come to you and destroy whatever you have if you keep pissing us off. So just back off and stay away from our place.
That's very Christian-like. Yeah.
I want to
So,
show you guys some maps here. These are out of the
Okay.
book. The first,
Yes.
this is what Antarctica would look like without the ice.
right.
Okay. And you can see that there's big water areas. Now here is the here are the Nazi maps of the underworld, and I was doing a comparison of what Antarctica looks like without the ice and where we've determined the U-boat entrance was.
Mm.
And I'm looking at the ground and trying to make a comparison to these maps of where New Schwabenland is. And it does kind of correspond to this area, these land masses. So if you can just imagine the ice over the map, and then you can even, if you can read it, New Schwabenland's on it, New Berlin base. And then they're going to the lighthouse of Agartha. And so this is about where the South Pole is. But they gave them all these names of the oceans and these land masses under there. That's why I'm kind of under the impression that that what they found and what a lot of people are kind of confused about inner Earth could just be right under the ice. It could just be right here. And what Antarctica would look like without the ice somewhat corresponds to these Nazi U-boat maps. And here's the entrance. So
I thought the ice was like 10 kilometers thick.
It's 2 miles thick, so about
2 miles,
almost 4 kilometers.
Okay.
On the polar plateau.
Right.
But it's the most volcanically active continent in the world. So there are a lot of geothermal features, 91 known geothermal features, and that would create the propensity for under ice domes. and actually a pretty temperate climate. So I can see what they're saying when the Nazi reports are that this was like the other Eden, and it's just a whole landscape, a whole unbelievable world down there. Also, that Bird had found that we don't really know anything about.
So do you think the ice forms like a giant igloo for the populations underneath it?
That's a good way to look at it, Sebastian. Yeah, like a giant igloo.
That is a great way to look at it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so I got a lot of cool stuff coming out with this new book. I don't think many people have ever seen these kind of maps. And I had this incredible research assistant in Europe, and I'm going to meet him when I speak in Germany in May. He's going to even come up and we're going to co-produce my presentation together. And he basically found this Russian journalist who his name is Nikolai Sabotin, and I've got his YouTube video. When we do our next one, Emery, we'll play that video, and he's flipping through the maps. So the providence of these being real, it's extraordinary because they got hundreds of them, and they got so much stuff out of the Third Reich that they brought to the KGB headquarters in Moscow to just backward engineer it, to learn about how advanced they got. And also from the Anna Nurbe Society, they got all their documents out of there. And that was the study of their ancient ancestors. And this is what ties in with the tall Nordics down there that we've heard so much about. And as you guys mentioned right when you came on, Sebastian, that there are good ones and bad ones. Even Pleiadians. I've heard there's bad Pleiadians. And just like there could be good reptilians too.
That's right.
And so
that's true.
It's just what makes this so confounding to try to wade through all this information and make sense of it, that there's good ones and bad ones. But I've always said it depends on what their agenda is. If you're in service to self, then you're doing what your people want to do, or that's the abductions and the cattle mutilations and stuff. But in your service to others, you want to see the human race succeed.
That's right.
And they're working on our behalf behind the scenes as well. But as you mentioned, Sebastian, they're not going to just show up on the White House lawn and say, take me to your dealer or leader, because they can't with the prime directive that there are laws with a evolving situation on Earth here that we need to do this ourselves.
Right.
But if it gets to the point where we're facing full nuclear war or annihilating each other, then they would step in. They're not going to let us destroy ourselves.
No.
But maybe now with this 3-Eye Atlas, it could be in such a way that we're going to have to basically we can use their help really bad.
And they are coming. They will be there to help. Anyway, I'm sorry to drop you on drop that, but I need to leave. I need to prepare for my workshop starting tomorrow.
Okay.
But I do appreciate the time with you, Brad. It's nice seeing you again.
You
and
too.
I will see you potentially in March if everything goes well. We'll see how it goes.
We come out the other side and we're in the new world, the new utopia.
Okay. Have a good
Thanks,
great
Sebastian.
evening. Thank you so much for having
coming.
me. Thank you.
Ciao.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, so another perspective,
That's cool.
It's cool. And he's calling me. I said, you just need to tell Brad all this because it's just more information. I told him get the contact and send it to me once he gets the contact established better.
Yeah.
And he, he'll be the one to do it. If anyone can do it, Sebastian's the one that's going to be able to bring that information out and share it with you and add it to the collection of information that you can use. Well, we do have questions. Yeah, so we do have questions. I know we're wrapping it up here. We're over a little bit, but that's okay. If you guys have questions, if we want to go back, Cameron, and look at that, let's see. Let's see what we have. Kim Ashton said, so are all these images from regular people are part, okay. So all these images from regular people are part of the PSYOPs, Abby too? Yes.
Well, yeah,
Well,
they are.
yeah.
If you're coming out saying back in July that, oh, I think they have malintent, that they're coming to conquer the planet, how could you know that? How could you know their intention? So to me, that was a big tell. That
big red flag. All right, what's the next one there, camera? I'll let you put it out. Are we looking at it going down? Probably when it comes out from behind the sun.
So in 3 days, it reaches perihelion. That is the closest it gets to the sun on that October 29th date, which was when Avi Loeb said, take your vacation before October 29th. How could he know that too? That it reaches perihelion, and that that would be the moment when it shows itself. But then we both disappear, which I kind of take issue with that too. I'm not so sure about that we would completely lose it behind the sun for a period of time, only to reemerge when we're at the closest point during the holiday season in late December. And so I was on an interview with David Sereda, and he's charted it out with all of the religious holidays. I think this is really interesting.
Wow,
too.
really?
And,
oh my
yeah,
gosh,
oh, yeah.
I gotta hit this.
With Rosh Hashanah is also coming up, the holiest of Jewish holidays.
Yeah.
And Halloween, when we all put on a disguise and change the way we look, right? And then and then of course, when we get to that close point, the closest point of all, at the end of December, you've got all the holidays from Christmas to New Year's to winter solstice to Kwanzaa, you name it. Everybody, Hanukkah, they're all celebrating at that time.
So that's interesting. He did this. You know, I've been preaching this for a long time because of my relationship with the Anunnaki, and when the worlds are at their thinnest, you know, I've been talking about Halloween. It's also called Samhain, pronounced Samhain in Gaelic, Samhain. That, you know, this all stems from contact, and contact not just with the dead spirits of the people who passed that year, but also the veil is at its thinnest, meaning that you are able, and the reason for that is because the galactic ley lines, and when planets are in certain positions, open up super highways that are only open, believe it or not, at the end of October, the last 2 weeks. And don't forget, you know, there was only 10 months before the Gregorian calendar came, and that has a lot to say about it if you want to go research this, that when this happens, the Anunnaki have the ability at this time just to look at everything. You know, Thoth, you know, back in Egyptian times, this is, you know, a Billy Carson thing that, you know, this was his artwork, you know, the hybridization, humans, all the megaliths. This was an artwork thing, and they're always watching, but this is a time where they can come and visit in different forms. So they can shapeshift, they can be the president, you, me, the dog, the cat, and they can observe and see, you know, what's going on. And for them, you have to understand, they don't measure time like we do. They measure in civilizations. So they measure in, like, you know, Lemuria and, you know, all these things that, you know, they don't, because time is not the same as it is, you know, for them. So checking in once a year is nothing. It's just like a blink for them to see what's going on, to also manipulate a lot that's going on, including all the ETs that we've been, you know, talking about, the Draconians, Pleiadians, And they do have a part way behind the scenes that you don't see, and they are a superpower to be reckoned with. Uh, and that is some interesting that you just said that, because I know for a fact that because of the different holidays that were established in ancient times had to do with the alignment of the constellations and the energy fields for even planting, for
Yep.
survival. And you've been to Machu Picchu, I'm sure, and Peru.
Yep.
And when you sit there and you see the sun come up and it goes right perfectly that time of year, through the hole in the rock, and tells them what the heck is going on. It's not just a sundial. It's also a time for manifestation, communication, and for healing. So there's a lot going on astrally on the astral world. And that's why everyone feels the fall is coming. There is an energetic shift to these different energetic highways that you can access information through it. And a lot of people are doing that. I think, oh, here it is. He put it up here. Oh, this is October 29th. There it is.
Beryllium.
Man, I guess the sun's going to go out, Brad, for a little bit, and then we'll be cold and then warm up the next morning. I don't know.
Oh, this is a good find, Cameron.
Yeah,
here's all the dates we're going to experience. And yeah, December 18th. Then it's that's the closest we get to it. And that leads
the holiday
right
before. Well,
and so
early.
Think too. I mean, if there is an EMP or a solar flare that knocks it out, what are we gonna do? We're just gonna hang out with our friends, break out the telescope, and look at this thing. So I think at the very least, if there is no attack, we might still get disclosure on planet Earth, and that would be a huge boost to the human population. Now that we're all on the same page, and we don't look like kooks for talking about aliens for decades.
This verifies.
All the normies going to be like, how come we didn't know this? Well, the evidence was there. You just had to be able to look at it.
Yeah, it's really feels so great. All the exposure, even since the Tic Tac, I'm getting people and family finally calling me back after 10, 20 years. So, oh man, you were right. We just thought you were nuts. And it's wonderful and self-gratifying, the gratitude that's out there of the change and the shift of consciousness. And not everyone is even there yet. People are still in denial. A lot of the planet is in third world countries because of the religious aspects. And that's okay too, because the science, Brad, the 3D science is showing it is coming. So regardless of what we're saying right now, we're going to know this way or the other way. I think Michelle said something earlier on here. Hey, we're just going to have to wait and see. And it's one of those things that it is coming. Let's see what happens. Let's prepare for everything. And that's an important thing. I'm glad that he's taking, Sebastian's taking it very seriously, and you should. And I like the idea of, I'll have to break out the telescope and shine it up, because I got enough firewood to last a year, but at the same time, I want to know what's going on.
Yeah, I don't want to live off of rice and beans for the next year either. We're going to stay alive through this. That's one thing for sure. We're going to get through this. And
we are. Yeah.
But here's the thing about the alien invasion too. If aliens really wanted to take over Earth, they had all the time in human history to do it. But now all of a sudden we've got some weapons to fight back. So why didn't they attack Earth just 100 years ago? They could have easily taken it. And that's part of also why the black goo is here. And I'm glad that Sebastian brought that up, that he detected the black goo on the 3i Atlas, that the aliens are using it. Because it's like an AI substance, but it can rapidly clone. It can do a whole bunch of different things. But I've got this in my new book about the black goo, because it was down in the South Thule Island, which is an island pretty close to Antarctica, between the Falkland Islands and Antarctica. And the black goo was deposited here at a time when the humans were at their lowest population, and that was after the Lake Toba explosion. And I went there. It's on the island of Sumatra in Indonesia, and it was 7,700 years ago. This thing blew, and it created this nuclear winter of all the ash in the sky for decades. And it killed off a huge amount of the human population. And it was only because a few tribes were able to cling on, and there were so few humans, you could fit everybody, every living human, into one of our largest sports stadiums, like Texas Stadium. There's only about 35,000 humans, and so there was the fear that we could be taken over by an alien force, and there would have been a great time to do it. But humans are meant to be on this planet. We're meant to be the ones on the surface here. So therefore, we would survive one way or another. Now, if it's going to come to an alien invasion attack and humans versus aliens like Independence Day or something, I don't think so. If it does, it's fake. I would agree with Werner von Braun that
I agree too.
They're gonna try to pull some the biggest fake out humans have ever seen. But like we said, don't believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. Michelle DePaul was asking them when you spoke of the tall whites, are the Nordics the same as the tall whites?
I think they're different, and because the tall whites are more they can be gray alien head, bigger eyes, not quite like the little gray aliens, but they got more of that composition. My understanding.
Absolutely, I consider them a completely different species. The two.
Yeah, I would too.
Don't the Germans have a base on the other side of the moon?
Yeah.
So and that's a yes.
Like a swastika.
Right. Actually, those pictures came out, I think.
Yep. That's what I said. If history were truly to be told, they were the first to the moon. They set up the first moon base. They're the first to Mars and well beyond.
Yeah. I wonder if Hitler ever expressed any guilt for what he did. Where are his kids? Yeah, where's the lineage of Hitler? I don't know that.
Okay, well this gets good. So you remember the movie? You remember the movie The Boys from Brazil? Once again.
I didn't see it.
So it was basically they were cloning Hitler, and they're putting him in the scenarios that he lived in his life. But they did it about a dozen times. So this guy gets on the trail and he starts finding all these cloned Hitlers who at a certain age he had a abusive father, and all of them had the same scenarios in life as Hitler did. But the point is, it was really not the boys from Brazil, but the girls from Brazil. And his daughters were Angela Merkel and Theresa May. And there was another prime minister, I think, of Lithuania. It was the three sisters who rose to power. So it was really the girls from Brazil. And they came out of these micronations too, or they were born with these scenarios. They were born as the Hitler daughters, but all the while afterwards. And Eva Braun eventually left him, and she moved away to another city in Argentina and died a natural death too. But there's so much to history. You know, there was a saying by the French philosopher Voltaire. He said, "History is the Mississippi of lies." So much of it is just fabricated.
Right.
Or taken out, omitted.
Yeah, or taken out, completely deleted.
Yep.
Are there authentically alien ships in our solar system? We kind of covered that. Yes, there's definitely ships here.
For a long time.
There have been. Who shot at 3i Atlas? That was a Sebastian. That's the SSP.
Yeah. So remember that link we were looking at early on about 3i Atlas shooting at the sun the other way around, provoking these sun flares, and then that could be used as an excuse for the EMP that it wasn't an attack, or it wasn't one country, or it wasn't the deep state doing it. It was just a sun flare. And it could happen. I mean, that's called the Carrington event. And that is a
Right.
historical event when a
Yes.
solar flare did knock out all the early telegraph lines in, I think, around 1870 something. So, yeah. So then you get these news stories coming out in the last day or two that the sun is being provoked into shooting solar flares, some of which, but you got to understand, a solar flare to have a direct hit on the Earth is like a needle in a haystack. It's really like a 1 in a million solar flares. It can happen, and it might happen again. But if the sun was really provoked and was shooting off all these solar flares, if there was some kind of technology that 3i Atlas is able to do that, then it would disable planet Earth. I mean, look at how handicapped we would be without power.
Yeah, it's I did an episode with David Adair, and he's like, the planes will be falling out of the skies, and there'll be fires everywhere, no one to put them out. The electrical, boxes on the telephone poles full of oil will catch fire. There will be babies and baby strollers going down the streets on fire, he said.
Oh boy.
And he's a big advocate because he came up with a way to EMP proof the grid, and we were turned down by the U.S. government, and there was other countries that were involved that wanted his technology, and just like other things like free energy, it was too dangerous to. It was ixnayed by the big corporate conglomerate that runs these countries. Well, how do you know if you're a star seed? Well, I think most humans are, some part of a star seed, but the star seed that they were talking about, that Sebastian's like 80,000 people are at already an elevated consciousness that are coming forward like Brad and saying the truth and getting the information out would be my definition, of a star seed, of service. Remember, of service.
That's right. Absolutely have to be in service to others. But it's also, if you start to understand what we're talking about here tonight, if this doesn't sound like gobbledygook, conspiracy theories, if it starts to resonate and you start to realize, maybe I do have a role to play in here. And I think everybody does. We have all got skin in the game because we're all human beings on this planet at this most momentous time to be alive. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we happen to be in the prime of our lives right now, Emery, that we have the ability to publish these books, to podcasts, that the internet is allowing us to put this over the airwaves to inform our fellow human race that it's time to stand up, Homo sapiens. Like my friend Sasha Stone says, arise, Homo sapiens. It's time to take back our planet. Be the custodians that we ought to be.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I think all the stuff that you put out in the media and what we put out, it affects a lot of people, and not just regular people, but people that are in higher ups and watch this webinar and shows that we get, we get feedback from. And so it's an awareness, knowing that, hey, there's something is out there bigger than you, and you can be part of that. And you don't have to have a great position anywhere or work a special trade. It's about, how you're waking up every morning and doing your manifestations and meditations. And I think it's a beautiful thing. Thank you, Glide. Appreciate that. She said, thank you so much for the webinars. So I think, if there's no more questions, I really think this is a positive thing. I don't see it either way as a negative. It's we're just trying to tell you guys there is the awareness part of this, and it's up to you can't say, hey, Brad, you didn't tell us.
Right.
We didn't give it the effort. And if you're interested in how to deal with this, please write into cosmicmarket3@gmail.com. And we do have one-on-one family counseling for this specific event, and how you can be more prepared for your family and loved ones, and some simple things are the water and food. And the third thing is there's a lot of people that will lose their lives because they're addicted to medications, or they're on medications that they have to have, like insulin. It's not going to be around. Contact lenses, silly things like this, your glasses, maybe get an extra pair. This is stuff that, in case it goes longer than the month, you should always be prepared anyway, and have a little cupboard or a section of the house where all your GTFO stuff is. And we build bags, to specs for family members and personal people, depending, on what they want to plan for. And that includes medical necessities as well, because we're really big into medical things, as you know. Well, Brad, how can people reach you?
Yeah, check out my website, bradolsen.com or cccpublishing.com, and there's a contact form on there. You can reach me that way, or follow me on Facebook or X, CCC Publishing, Brad Olsen, and I try to post content daily. And let's just keep the narrative going.
Yeah, we'll keep it going. Yeah, go ahead.
Last thing I want to say is there's no motive for you and I to be making this stuff up. We're not trying to get famous off of this or try to boost our book sales or podcast sales. This is about understanding the situation we're in. And like Bill Cooper said, you put the aliens in the middle of this stuff and you start to get all the answers. And you really have to talk about the alien issue. I know a lot of people previously could get turned off by that, but now it is starting to really register in people's minds. And we're just trying to dig for the truth. We just want to put out valuable, actionable intelligence to keep everybody safe, healthy, and alive, because we're going to come out of this on the other side, and it's going to be a new dawn for humanity. And it's all hands on deck. We're the ground crew down here. It's really up to us. And the ET benevolent races are counting on us for doing our role in this elevation of humanity. This is the Great Awakening. We all play a role. We've all got skin in the game. And so let's just do the very best we can and be in service to others. And we come out the other side, and I'll see you at the big dance.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be fun, rewatching these and reiterating this stuff 6 months from now, and it'll be a whole nother new webinar. And here we go. And it's going to be great to talk about this. Brad and I are going to be doing another one very soon in November, shortly, to continue the Antarctica story, because it's still completely untold, because we only did a few episodes on it, and really looking forward to that, because there's always so much to talk about on these webinars, but we try to keep it around 2 hours so we can get as much information. And the information comes in where we have to tell you what's most, we triage it. Brad and I triage what needs to be talked about. Same thing with Sebastian and all of my team here. What do we need to, get out there so you guys can be prepared? And that's the most important thing. And you guys can do your job by spreading these webinars out there and educating people and bringing them to the platform so it can be learned. So it's just not you telling your neighbor, hey, there's aliens out there. You have a support group. Your support group are these people here online, and the people that we have on these webinars, and of course the people on Cosmic Disclosure Alliance Facebook page, and all of it. You have a family. This is your family. We get it. You get it. Now, we're not trying to convert anyone. Not everyone is ready for this information, and that's okay. We do get a lot of write-ins. I can't convince my husband or my wife or my daughter or my sister, and that's okay. You're not really there for that. You plant a seed, and even if it's media, bad media, it gives them the opportunity to question why they're here, who they are, and what they're supposed to do here on planet Earth. Well, I want to thank everyone. Please visit emerysmith.co. Get your nano blue and your nano green. Oh my gosh. Look at that. It even glows. Protect yourself from 5G, EMF, EMPs, all disrupts DNA. We have a new product. It's called Oceanic. And Oceanic is the nano blue, which is a nano zinc and methylene blue with best of both worlds, the nano green. Now, Brad, I did send you a nano blue and a nano green.
Yes, you did.
A full bottle. And that black pen light is for just you to see that it is active. So it's a black light, Brad. I didn't tell you.
I saw it, yeah.
Yeah, and these products, the descriptions are on there, like I said, containing some amazing ingredients that have already been proven to help people with lots of different things. And if you have questions about these products, please write into cosmicmarket3@gmail.com. Well, Brad, thank you so much, man. It's always so much fun. And we had a surprise guest, Sebastian Martin.
Yeah.
And that was also really fun. And I'm looking forward to our next one. We'll get the dates. Cameron will get the dates out there and promote this, and we'll pick the dates because you have a busy schedule in November, so do I. And if you're ever in Las Vegas, you have a place to stay over here. Come hang out. And thanks again, Brad. And thank you everyone all for your support. Proceeds do go to us and help keep these Cosmic Television Network YouTube channels open, and help pay for the staff. It's really appreciated. And like Brad said, this is definitely this business is not a money-making business. It's really hard to make a life out of this unless you're an author. Like Brad is a professional author with his beautiful books. And we're going to be doing more updates as we go through this amazing transition through October, November, December. So have a great, happy Halloween, or Samhain, as we say in Celtic terms. Look at this. Here it is, CC Publishing. Get your books. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Brad. Thank you, Cameron, for putting all this on. Yeah. Commander Salamander, if you're there, say hello. Yeah. There he is.
Good job,
Cameron. Good job, Cameron.
Much love, everybody. Keep raising the vibes. Thanks for being our featured guest today, Brad. You're excellent. We look forward to having you on again real soon.
We'll do it for sure.
Okay. Commander Cosmic signing out. We'll see you guys next time. Brad will be in touch.
Sounds good, guys. Enjoy the Sky Show.